So I'm wondering, is it just me, that feeling of panic and rumination that happens when you've been reminded of something or remembered something that you know is important and that you don't want to forget? And so you repeat it over and over again in your mind and worry about forgetting it and then start feeling anxious. And it might be going over and over again in the back of your mind without you even realizing it or making it hard to think about anything else. Because you're afraid if you don't do this, then you might have forgotten something valuable or something bad might happen if you don't remember this thing. So let's talk all about this today and what you can do about it if you struggle with the anxiety of forgetting things. This is episode number 99, The Anxiety of Forgetting Things and What to Do About It. Welcome to Calmly Coping. My name is Tati, and I am a licensed therapist and coach specializing in high functioning anxiety. I help high achievers overcome anxiety, stress, and overwhelm so they can finally stop overthinking everything. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, you're having a conversation with somebody, and they say something that triggers a memory of something, and you're like, oh, shoot, I just remembered I have to make a dentist appointment tomorrow. But you don't want to be rude and, pull out your phone and start typing in a reminder for yourself. So, you continue to pay attention, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, I can't forget to make this dentist appointment. I need to keep this in the back of my mind. So when I'm done with this conversation, I can go do it or I can go write it down somewhere. And it's just running over and over again in your mind. And this experience might be layered with anxious thoughts and feelings such as, if I don't remember this now, then what if I never remember it and it goes into the abyss of my mind and I won't ever remember it again. Or maybe that's just me. Or, I always forget things. I really need to make sure I remember this. Or depending on what the thing is, like what if something bad happens if I don't remember it? If it's about responding to a text, what if I don't answer because I forgot and they get mad at me? Or if it's about remembering something I have to do for work, what if I forget and I get in trouble or I'm seen as being irresponsible? So there can be some realistic and maybe some exaggerated consequences that can occur as a result of forgetting things. And so that's what can bring up that anxiety. And it's all of the what ifs and the worst case scenarios of what could possibly go wrong in this situation. And that becomes continued motivation to hold whatever it is that you don't want to forget in the forefront of your mind. And this can feel uncomfortable and frustrating, and that's if you're even aware of it. It might be even happening under the surface without you even recognizing it. I've found myself holding on to things that I don't want to forget, even unconsciously. And then I'm wondering, why am I continuing to think about this over and over again in my mind? But it's just because I have created this habit of repeating things over and over again because I don't want to forget them, so that it happens when I'm not even realizing it. And it might happen randomly and seemingly unprovoked because of something that somebody said that's triggered it, or just because we sometimes have random thoughts during the day and something might come up that you had thought about before and we're like, I need to remember this, and then it comes up again and won't leave your mind. It might be accompanied with feelings of stress and feelings of urgency, and thus making you want to act on it more and keep it there. But this can prevent you from feeling fully present and keep you in a loop of never-ending thoughts and worries. So if you can relate, then I'm going to talk about what you can do about it in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the sponsor for this episode, which is my free high-functioning anxiety quiz. So this quiz is perfect for you if you feel as though you may struggle with high-functioning anxiety, or even if you don't know what it is and you want to see if it's something that you can identify with. And what that means is when you are high achieving and successful on the outside, but on the inside, you're struggling with anxiety and overwhelm and overthinking. So you can take this quiz and get your personalized results by going to hfaquiz.com. So now let's talk about what to do about the anxiety of forgetting things. So step one is awareness. And I often talk about this a lot as the first step because you cannot change what you aren't aware of. So it's important to start to become more aware of, what does this anxiety of forgetting things look like for you? Is it ruminating and repeating things over and over again in your mind? Is it that feeling of panic and anxiety of like, I need to remember this and I'm so bad at remembering things? Is it that feeling of like thinking of the worst case scenario, or whatever else that might look like for you. And does it tend to come up at certain times or in certain situations? Like, for example, sometimes what can happen for me is that these things that I needed to remember come up while I'm driving or while I'm in the shower or before I go to bed at night, because these are the moments where you're not doing things. And so when there's no distractions, that can be when those things come to the forefront. Identifying for you, are there times and places where these thoughts and tendencies come up? And that can then help you understand what are the best steps to take next, which I'm going to talk about. But that awareness piece is super important because it's about understanding what it looks like and feels like for you personally, and also recognizing that there's nothing wrong with you for having these thoughts or feeling this way. And the more that you can recognize it and be aware of it non-judgmentally, then the more that you can take action so that it doesn't get in the way of your day-to-day or of your mood. So some questions to help you to start bring awareness to it are asking yourself, when did these thoughts come up? How do you feel when they come up? And are you aware of how frequently it happens? So step 2 is to get it out. So this can be really helpful. Either writing it down or putting it into your phone can be a great way of getting those things out of your mind and then onto paper or onto a digital format so that you can address it when the time is right. So if the time isn't right currently and you feel like it's running over and over again in your mind, sometimes just releasing it by putting it down somewhere where you know you're going to return to it later can help to relieve some of that fear of forgetting and that anxiety that comes up. So my favorite tool to use is Todoist, and this is a to-do list app, and I keep a widget on the home screen of my phone that allows me to add a new to-do list task. So anytime I remember something or I have an idea about something that I want to remember, I put it in there and then I attach a date to it. So if it's today, I'll write today or tomorrow or whenever I know I can revisit that task. And I can always reschedule the dates in case I'm not able to get to it on a certain date. But then at least I know it's in there and I'm going to get to it when I have the time. My third tip is to practice positive self-talk. So ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I did forget this? And look at and recognize those negative thoughts that might be coming up for you. And if you notice a lot of negative thoughts coming up, just reflect on them. And if it's thinking of the worst case scenario, have you ever experienced catastrophic outcomes from forgetting something? I'm assuming probably not, because we all forget things from time to time and it's part of being human. So remind yourself, if it's important, then I'll remember it and it will come back to me and I'll remember it when I need to. I think it's really important at this stage to practice self-trust and to trust yourself to remember things. And you can, either do something to write it down if you are really concerned it's something important. And at the same time, if it is something important, trust that you will remember it and try and let it go and enjoy the present moment. I know that this is often easier said than done, and it is a practice. But when you can intentionally remember to do it and bring your attention to that, then it's going to become easier over time. So I hope that these tips were helpful for you if you struggle with this anxiety of forgetting things. And your action tip is to take these tips that I've shared and put them into action. Tip 1 is awareness. Tip 2 is to get it out, and I want you to identify the specific way that you will do that works best for you. And tip 3 is to practice positive self-talk. So I want to continue the conversation. So you can head over to my free Facebook community, Calmly Coping, to share your thoughts about the anxiety of forgetting. Is this something that you even knew was a thing? Is this something that you struggle with a lot or maybe not at all? I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and I'm going to be sharing mine as well. So you can go to calmlycoping/group to join in on the conversation. And while you wait for next week's episode, I have other episodes about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy. So be sure to subscribe if these topics interest you and check out these episodes right here. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and until next time, be calm.